Welcome to Potluck Politics. I'm Peter Roper, and today we're going to explore the question, who likes Bernie Sanders? We all do. Potluck Politics is a result of our friends getting together to eat, talk about everything. Politics is a prime topic. We will do some of that here without the food and the drink and the bigger crowd, but with some of the fun and passion. Bernie Sanders was born in Brooklyn, New York, moved to Vermont, eventually ran for mayor of Burlington in 1981. He was elected by 10 votes the first time, after a recount, I believe. He was Vermont's congressman for 16 years, and then he was elected to the U.S. Senate from Vermont in 2006. He was reelected in 2012 by a 71% vote, and he is running for president to create a future to believe in. We're lucky to be joined by Ellen McClellan, RN from Stonington, Marilyn Mackey from North Stonington, both coordinators, facilitators, or cheerleaders for Bernie Sanders. Thank you both for joining us. First of all, I'd like to know from both of you how you ended up picking Bernie as your candidate.
Me first?
Sure.
Why not? Since his college days, and I am older than he is, he has been consistent in all of the policies and positions that he has taken. And that gives me great hope that what he says today he will do. He will do. And to me that's very important because so many people when they're out politicking say anything and everything that might come to their minds and then forget it when it comes to policy when they get into office. So it's confidence.
Yeah. Eleanor?
Well, Bernie has struck me very early on all the issues that have been very close to my heart for most of my life, actually. And I was astounded on one hand and so immediately comforted and consoled on the other hand that here was a human being who is devoted his life and his purpose to fulfilling equal rights for women, for gays, for other people of different color, minorities across the board. And climate change is great, big on his agenda, which has to be now. And those are just a couple of the enormous pulls that he has for me. And I feel he's extremely honest and trustworthy.
Great. You took the words right out of my brain, because I feel a lot of the same way. He has been working on the issues, not just talking about them, his whole career. A speech from 30 years ago could be the speech he's giving today, because he's still focused on the issues that need to be addressed. Great. So what causes has he championed over the years? And I'm not sure who wants to answer that. Eleanor?
Okay, I'll take that. Well, he, as I said, is a civil rights activist and remains so. And he has been an activist since his early years as a college student.
In college, yeah.
He has fought against agreeing to the wars in the Middle East. He continues to do so. He's against free trade agreements that take jobs away from Americans and put them overseas. He is fighting to get the minimum wage higher, as we heard, $15. He is against people who take away women's rights, especially when it comes to their reproductive health. He has worked with Senator Boxer on a climate change bill and to create sustainable energy. And those are just some of the things that he's done and continues to work on. He's not only campaigning, but he's also putting forward another bill for sustainable energy and climate change, halting climate change.
Yeah. I was really struck during one of the debates when he he didn't take the low road, I guess, on national security. He said it was climate change is the biggest national security question we face.
Yes.
And it does really affect everything else.
It does, yes.
I'm going to throw in here that one of my biggest interests is the fact that he's trying to reduce the influence of money in politics.
Yes.
That is so key to everything, because you don't get any action on stopping war, on fixing climate change, on even equality issues if you don't have the money out of politics. So that to me is a huge, huge thing. Okay, now do you think he's been effective on issues? He has been working for a long time on issues. You want to talk about effectiveness?
He has sponsored 775 bills solo. He has co-sponsored 5,386. He's held public office for 32 years. That's elected public office. He holds the record for amendments and is dubbed the Amendment King. He sponsored the VA healthcare bill with Republican Jeff Miller, $16 billion. He co-sponsored Protect Women's Health from Corporate Interference Act in 2014. And he's co-sponsored so many bills. People who are interested can go to votesmart.org and just look at the endless list of bills that he has sponsored and co-sponsored. And he's currently the ranking minority member of the Budget Committee. So he is extremely busy, and he doesn't get a chance to rest. Also, what I feel is very important now is that he has set the tone for the Democratic debates, and the issues are being debated by all of the three candidates, and it's putting them on point. And clearly, Bernie is the most eloquent and the most knowledgeable and the most experienced in a variety of forefronts.
You think she's going to vote for him?
I think so. I think she likes him. Any numbers on how effective he was as far as the number of legislation pieces that he did get through, or did it not list that?
I don't have that information, but I do know he's fighting and has been fighting an uphill battle. But he continues to, as they say, reach across the aisle and work as well as he can with the company he keeps.
Did you have any more on that question on effectiveness? Or?
It's an interesting subject when you say how much of the legislation was actually put in effect. One of the things that bothered me terribly in our existing administration was the fact that when the health care issue was put on the table, that they never even allowed single payer to come into the discussion. I don't think something like that would ever happen if Bernie were in the White House. I think when he feels strongly about something, even if the passing of it might not be as sure because you won't have others there, pharmaceutical and medical associations, to be with you, he would push what he feels would be the right thing to do.
I personally feel like his effectiveness is measured by the fact that he's really the conscience of the Congress in many ways. He's taken votes that other people are afraid to even talk about. He stood there on issues that he believes strongly in by himself in some cases.
Yes.
And again, in the Democratic debates, I think he has been the conscience of the Democratic Party, because the debates were much more elevated, much more focused on issues, and much more substantive with him there than without.
Definitely.
Now, do you think he has a chance of winning?
Yeah.
All right. No hesitation.
Well, it's very funny. Up until not too long ago, and I'd say a week ago, I was always thinking that if he gets the primary, he will win. I don't think there's a problem once everybody is voting. It was just a matter of whether
The nomination.
whether he would get that nomination. And as we've seen now, I just saw on yesterday's day that Joe Biden, our vice president, has put in a good word for him, which was a surprise, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And it's so neck and neck right now, and he's ahead in two of the polls in terms of New Hampshire and Iowa. And I think it's only getting better. I mean, the tide seems to be with him. And the youth, I mean, that is what has floored me, that people talk about his age, young people are just flocking to him. So I can't say why, but they see something that we've seen. And I think he has an excellent chance of winning.
Many of his issues are framed in the future.
They resonate.
He's not dwelling on the past or the way things have always been done. He's looking ahead, and I think young people especially tend to focus on that a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And he's also quite interested and devoted to doing away with the debt that these young
College.
people have to carry around with them for X amount of years before they even start making a living. And he wants to make college free, tuition free.
In the public.
Right,
Yeah.
public colleges.
Don't scare Yale and Harvard.
Right, no.
Yeah.
But yes, the young people, I think, have felt the burden of inheriting a very frightening scenario that faces them today. And their ability to get good employment and make a living wage is compromised severely. And he is right on target with that and understands the frustration and the, just this tired, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to get ahead. People with college degrees are having a struggle. And he's aware. He is aware, very, very aware.
I just heard someone saying that they were hoping that Social Security payments would go up so they could pay off their college loans. It was a joke, obviously, but people are saddled with debt from school that goes on and on and on, and it's strange that that's been acceptable, and he's making it unacceptable, which is interesting. It's a campaign issue.
Very healthy.
And I would have to agree. Whether he has a chance of winning or not is not why I pick a candidate. I think he does have a chance of winning. I think he's got a great chance, and I think because of his issues and because of his enthusiasm and his willing to work and draw together a revolution, I think that he's got a chance. So it's worth getting involved with it. The next one is, don't you think he might be too liberal for a lot of people? And that's a label which you might have disagreed with yourself. But
Progressive was where
I
I
know.
would come from.
Liberal is being used as a negative, but
It isn't for that reason.
It's not really negative.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
Liberal, from where do you start? You're in the middle. Where's the middle that you're liberal? But progressive says, where are we going? He's looking forward, and it's exactly what you said earlier. And the whole issue of his being, he has experience, which can't hurt, and age gives you a certain amount of wisdom if you have half a brain in your head. You know what is viable and what isn't viable. And he is progressive enough that his message is resonating with the 20 and 30-year-olds. They seem to recognize what he's saying, appreciate what he's saying. No, they're going to have to live with what is going to be done. And the combination of having the past experience and having been around in office for 32 years, I think Lyndon Johnson, most of the things, whether you liked him personally or not is another story, but in terms of expediency and getting things done, He was amazing. And I think the years that he had in Congress allowed him to know how that house or those houses worked. And he was able
Yes.
to pull strings. And I think Bernie will have that ability as well.
That's hopeful.
Would he be as good with international issues as domestic problems?
Well, he is the ranking current minority member of Budget Committee. And as such, he got his hands in the till, so to speak.
Now, that doesn't sound.
Well, as far as where the money's
Controlling
going
the
to
till.
go.
Okay.
Controlling the till.
Right, watching the money go out of the till and having some say in how it goes. So
Where it goes.
Right, he's very aware of the military spending and Pentagon spending, and he's, I would say, more conservative toward giving our monies away to the military than his opponents. And I'm on his side in that realm. He is also in favor of garnering the support and cooperation of the global community and not taking the stand as we are America, we have the word, we have the first word,
Daddy
the
knows
middle
best.
word,
Daddy knows best.
and the last word. He doesn't subscribe to that policy. He wants to move the country away from that and take a leadership role, but bring it to a more global aspect where we can lead the discussion at the table, but we aren't going in there first with money, first with bombs, first with bodies. He's made it very clear that this is not where he wants to lead the country. And I think it's extremely important and brave vision for us, for the country. And then we truly can lead again in the world. So, that's
Okay, how about age? I can almost guess what you're going to say. Is his age an issue?
Age is a number. I don't know if you ever met Anna Coit.
I know of her, and I think I did meet her, yes.
She
North
died
Stonington
at
resident.
106.
Yeah.
She was
Recently, right?
Yeah,
She died.
it was
Yeah.
last year. And she was writing poetry the day that she died. I have a 99-year-old aunt who can run rings around me in terms of intellect and knowing what's going on in the world. So my experience has been, it's the individual. It really has nothing to do with the number. But I will put a big but. Our vice presidential candidate who would be running with him is critically to be someone that people will support and feel strongly about. My hope it's Elizabeth Warren, but we will see what happens. But I think that's very important. But I mean, unless he suddenly gets sick, and that can happen to anybody, gets hit by a car, not likely. No, 74 is 5 years younger than me, and I don't mind telling you I'm still ready to jump rope.
Yep.
So.
Any comments on that one? No.
Well, I think he is a product of a previous revolution, and his age allows that. He may seem older to a lot of people, but I think he encompasses such important history in his own life and his own persona that is informing his issues and his fierce attention to the things that really matter.
He doesn't seem to me like he's dwelling on the past. That's why I said he seems like he's looking towards the future and thinking about the future, which is a youthful, I think, a youthful attitude.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with the grilling campaign that he's doing. He seems to be everywhere. He's on programs,
Yes.
and you know, he looks like he's working. He's not not relaxing, but he doesn't seem like he's, you know, crushed by it, and he keeps going, and he must know how to schedule himself so he does get rest in between. But this is a major campaign that he's doing, and
Oh,
you know,
yes.
he's not just campaigning in the primary states. He's been all over the country, and you know, to me, that's pretty impressive. And I agree, age is a number.
It's also fascinating that his campaign has not that many paid people on,
Right, yeah.
people on payroll. I was on a conference call the other night, across the country, with, for volunteers, where we're headed.
Yeah.
Over 500 volunteers. I mean, it is astounding. And even in our own little area, which, let's face it, this is not the strongest of democratic areas that people be interested. I mean, we have more volunteers working for him here. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, this one, we debated this a little bit before the cameras came on, but why Bernie and not Hillary? Or
Why
her,
not?
who shall not be mentioned.
Okay.
You ready?
Well, Bernie is dedicated to evening the playing field as far as campaign contributions go, and not accepting one dime from
PACs.
big corporations or PACs. That cannot be said for other candidates.
Right.
And
Any other candidate
any other
of
candidate.
any stripe.
Ever. So I'm extremely heartened by that, and I think that underscores his integrity and his trustworthiness. He's not beholden to anybody except for the several, probably million supporters now
It's over 1 million, I think, supporters.
who donate bits and pieces of their precious earned money to foster his campaign. And he understands the importance of people feeling their inputs, that their $5, $10, $20, $30 matter. And it's not going to get wiped away by, you know, $20 billion coming from a big corporation. This is Bernie's campaign. This is all that he's about. It's about all the people, even Stephen. No, you know, oh, well, you know, now I have to double think this issue because I did say something and I, you know, accepted this donation, and you know, and that's how it's been going forever.
It can be subtle, but it's bribery.
It is,
I mean,
it
you might as well
is.
just say it. It's bribery. It's
Right.
buying politicians.
It's buying the
And
votes.
whether it's buying access or buying little influence on a vote or buying total commitment,
Right.
it's getting something. And it is to me a huge sign of the leadership he's bringing is that alone, the fact that he's not
Yes.
taking big donations and is making that a centerpiece of the campaign. Because everything else, as I said, it flows from that. You can't address any of the issues if the money is still controlling everybody involved in decision making. So
I would
that's
just
big.
like to say that the consistency that we've been talking about, that Bernie has had in his years in office, his opponent does not have.
Mm.
The changes
This is
of
true.
policy it is, again, something that you couldn't count on in
Yeah.
the future, and
Yeah.
hasn't. Cannot point, and I may be biased, to one major accomplishment that she, who we are not naming, has, that she can stand up and take credit for. Now, that may be unfair, but nothing stands out. Secretary of the State, First Lady, Senator. Doesn't bode well to me.
Well, let's move on, because I think we can stay positive like Bernie anyway, and
Good.
talk about Bernie. And one important issue we want to bring up here is the fact that there is a primary in Connecticut. It's not always played up the way it is in other states, like the first two, but it's important. And the primary's coming in April 26th. And you want to talk about that a little bit, or both you want to talk about what's
Well, I
happening
can
in
talk
regards
about
to that?
it. The key thing is, in order to vote in the Democratic Party primary, you have to be a Democrat. So if you are not a Democrat, please change your party affiliation. And that must be done by January 26th of, it's
If
not
you're
very-
registered with another party.
If you're registered, yes, if you're
If
registered
you're
with another
unaffiliated, you
party.
can do it right up till the day before.
25th
Right.
of April, exactly, the day before. So that is a very key issue. And if you are unaffiliated and you have been of a party after the 27th of January, in other words, if you changed to becoming unaffiliated as of the 27th of January, those rules for unaffiliated will not apply that you can do it up to the day before. That January 26th is the key date.
Yeah.
You've got to make that change, and
Yeah.
I think that's
And
important.
that's a long time ahead, so people have to pay attention if they really want to switch
Not
to
a long,
the-
you mean to the 26th?
I mean, between the 26th and the
Oh,
primary.
yes, that
it's
is why
a big
people
gap.
think they have plenty of time.
Yeah.
And that is not the case.
And it is possible to switch back and forth. You don't have to stay in the Democrats. If you just want to vote in the primary, you can switch now and you could change back later. So
As
it's
a
not.
former registrar of voters, I can give you the
People do
names
it.
of people who do it 4
I've
times
talked to
a
some people
year.
who have switched for Bernie and said they've switched more than once, and
Yeah.
they'll switch back later probably. But
Yeah.
it's important for people to know that, because people
Mm-hmm.
get disappointed, as you know, I'm sure, when they show up to the polls thinking they can participate in a primary or
And I
election.
hate to tell you how many people do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's,
So those of you out there who are watching, pay attention. You got to get registered the right way to do what you want to do.
That is true.
And there's not a lot of time left,
Yeah, the 26th is coming up quickly.
very quickly. Get going.
And you can actually do it at the town hall, at the
Just walk into the town hall.
registrar's office, or
and
online, right? I think.
You can go online,
Secretary of
Secretary of
State's.
State's website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No excuses, it's easy. Have either of you been doing any calling in primary states, New Hampshire specifically? I think Connecticut people are urged to call in New Hampshire. I have not, I know that.
I hate being on the phone, and I hate knocking on doors. I have done it in the past, and what I find is I get so irritated with basically doing the same thing over and over that I become impatient with
Yeah, it
people,
wears
which
you
is not
down.
really the way
It's
to make
definitely work.
friends. So there are a lot of people who have patience and who can do it, but I have fairly good organizing skills, and I'm doing lots of other things instead, which I can do a better job at.
And you can hook people up if they do want to call, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And you,
absolutely.
same?
Well, I did take the phone bank training, but I haven't.
Through the campaign, through Bernie's campaign?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I've been in touch with a lot of different entities that are having to do with the campaign, but I've not made canvassing calls myself as yet.
But that is an option. People could do it if they
Oh,
wanted to.
yes, there are many
And
options.
actually, people are going to New Hampshire, I guess, from Connecticut.
Oh, yes.
Door to door.
Yes, they are. There's road burners that go up to New Hampshire every weekend. And if you're interested, if anyone's interested, you can check the bernies.com website, and you'll be directed to all kinds of links, and you could look at canvassing, and they'd love to have you.
Period. They'd love to have you.
Any which way.
We've kind of covered that. So unaffiliated voters can register right up until the day before the Connecticut primary, April 25th. So if you're an unaffiliated voter, or think of yourself as an independent voter, you can actually register as a Democrat up until the 25th and still vote on the 26th in Democratic primary.
Yep.
So have at it. Have either of you ever met Bernie in person?
No.
No.
I went to the Springfield rally. And
Springfield, Mass, right?
Yes.
A couple weeks ago, was it?
It was several weeks ago now. And I didn't get to, shake his hand, but I was in the presence of his company along with a lot of other thousands of people, and the energy in the room was outstanding, and it took my breath away many, many times during the speech that he gave. I was moved several times to tears, literally, that he was touching such important, heartfelt issues that were resounding with all the people there. So even though I didn't get to shake his hand, I was very much moved by his presence. And I encourage anyone who has the opportunity to see him in person, do it.
Good. So for both of you, what do you know about him that you think everyone should know, that you haven't mentioned already, I guess?
I would say that he is more against war than any other candidate I have seen in my lifetime. And it is literally the bottom of his bucket list. I mean, it would really have to be, they're almost dropping bombs on us. I think that his attitude, let me segue, his being Jewish and the fact that his parents were immigrants to the United States, which I think I very much, that resonates with me because I come from the same type background, and I'm also from Brooklyn. And we used to play James Madison High School and ball games. Anyway, that's really an aside. But his feelings about how important it is that everybody gets an even shake comes from an immigrant, child of an immigrant, living in those days where World War II was on, and you didn't know how many of your relatives were going to be making it to our shores. I also think with the entire Muslim issue now that's going on across the country. I don't know if you saw the forum that they had of all the colleges coast to coast, but he had, there was a young Muslim girl who asked him what his position was on the issues with Muslims in the United States. And he asked her to come down, and he took her hands and looked her in the eye and said, I don't know if you know this, but I'm Jewish. And that's when he went through his history. And he became so human at that moment, because he's pretty stiff upper lip when he's on TV, and people
He's serious.
say
He says he's serious.
Exactly.
He's serious about politics.
he is
and
serious,
government.
but that doesn't always make people love him. But if you saw that
Well, people call him
sequence-
grumpy. They think he's grumpy because
Exactly.
he's serious.
But I think somebody who has the finger on that nuclear button, who's in the White House, has to be somebody who hates war and who cares about all people sincerely, not just articulation.
So if anyone wants to, I'm going to skip the whole thing about the Republicans and Trump. Sorry, I'm
Good.
I'm cutting
I'm
it out.
glad.
So if anyone wants to get involved, what should they do? I mean, how would they go about it? Okay.
BernieSanders.com, and
Yes.
when you get there, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to donate money, obviously, that always helps. If you want to work for him, there's a volunteer section, and you can do 1,000,001 different things depending upon what you like to do and what you're capable of doing. Working people can make phone calls into the night if they're in different, for example, they say between noon and 8:30 are the times to call people. But if you're calling people on the West Coast, you can do it any time that it works for you. And they need a lot of help in offices, and we have a Norwich office here that they need people to come in and work in and answer questions and give out literature, et cetera. So there's lots that people can do.
Great. Anything else you want to cover? I'm going to wrap it up.
All right.
Thank you both very much for helping us all to learn why so many like Bernie. I already kind of knew, but you were very enlightening and helpful on these issues. Now we're going to take some time and meet some other neighbors that are for Bernie and find out why they like Bernie. So we're going to do that right now.
I'm Bill Ricker from North Stonington. Why am I voting for Bernie Sanders? Taking a look at all of the candidates that are offered to us this season, Bernie is the one person who stands out for me with honesty, integrity, and not just honesty and integrity for this election, honesty and integrity throughout his life. As a professional social worker, social justice has been my life's work. And when I look at the candidates that are concerned about social justice, we ask ourselves who stands out. And Bernie Sanders has not changed in the values and the programs that he has been pushing throughout his congressional career. He's the only one who doesn't waver on the issues, ever. I'm certainly concerned about the 1% that he continually brings to our attention of those folks who are making the money and not paying the taxes. Though I'm not in the 1%, I'm comfortable in my retirement, but I can pay more. The folks that are hurting, the folks at the lower end of our wage earners are hurting badly. And for them to be paying an equal amount in their taxes that the 1% pay, where is the social justice? Socialist programs that we have had in our country for years, starting with Social Security and Medicaid, health care options for all of us. These social programs are the programs that are fully supported by Bernie Sanders, and he has been supporting them since their inception. What we need, folks, is a revolution of honesty. A revolution of honesty in this country, and a revolution of honesty in this election. Bernie Sanders meets this standard for me.
Hi, my name is Mark Keppel. I'm a local attorney and a lifetime resident of Stonington. And my wife and I strongly support Bernie Sanders' candidacy for president. We believe that his intellectual and moral integrity is unquestioned in everything he does. It's been a long time since I was drawn to a politician based on their vision of what this country should be like. And Senator Sanders has pointed out time and time again the inadequacies that exist in our society. And my wife and I don't want to tolerate that, and so we throw our support to Senator Sanders. We like the idea that he doesn't take PAC money and that his actions are not going to be controlled by corporate interests. We also like the fact that he supports the resurrection, if you will, of the middle class, where people are competing on an even playing field, and resources are valued, such as education and work opportunities, rather than corporate profits. So with that said, we endorse him, and we hope that you will too.
My name is Jim Nestor. I live in Stonington. I'm a longtime supporter of Bernie Sanders. We go back a ways. Unlike others here, I've a long history of donating to his campaigns, going back to the days when he's a member of Congress from Vermont. I have been attracted to him for a number of years for a number of reasons, including the fact that he's a principled man who's followed the path that has been already mentioned. He speaks clearly and forcefully about our need to do something to remedy our environment before we do irreparable damage to the climate. He's set an example for everybody when it comes to running a campaign without becoming beholden to wealthy contributors and corporations. And we owe him for showing that example. But the one thing that I wanted to mention, which I think sort of sum up my understanding and my feelings about Bernie, is that he's a true example of what I would call an egalitarian. He's a man who believes in equality. He believes that every individual should be subject to the same rights, the same opportunities, and the same access as all the others. And if you go through his program, line by line, step by step, you'll see that it's reflected in each and every one of those. When he talks about healthcare, education, the criminal justice system, women's rights, reordering the wealth structure of this country, redoing the way we do our elections. In every instance, it's a reflection of the fact that he has this core principle in which he views every individual as being equivalently entitled to whatever this country has to offer. That's the reason we're going to vote for him. We'd encourage anybody else to join us. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Hayes Houlihan. I'm from Stonington, Connecticut. I am a small business owner. And I'm here because I support Bernie Sanders. I believe in his honesty and in his integrity. I know he speaks for me, the middle class, the working class of this country. I am the working class. And so the things that he talks about that resonate with me are things that are very important to me today, and that is affordable health care. It's about jobs in this country, manufacturing in this country, things that are made in America, corporations paying their fair share of taxes, particularly those taxpayers that are subsidizing these corporations to continue on. He believes in climate change and that we need to do something about it through renewable energy resources. I'm very impressed with the fact that he is not a super PAC person. He is not accepting money from the big corporations. He's not beholden to anyone. So things won't go along as a status quo because of that. He believes that every smart kid should have an education. And he doesn't feel that they need to graduate with an enormous amount of money, an enormous amount of debt. His stance on the Middle East, in that he won't be running to war, all of us, the United States, on our own without at least discussing and collaborating with the United Nations and with other countries that are concerned about what's going on in the Middle East. I think Bernie Sanders is charismatic. I think he's real. He speaks for me. And I believe that he is the man that we need to fill the presidency. And that's all I have. Thank you.
My name is Steve Mann, and I'm a small business person in Stonington, but I live in Groton. I live in the Mystic section, and I have worked with my wife for many years in our little business, 42 years as a matter of fact. I have been a liberal, so to speak, for many, many years. Back in the 70s, as a young Jewish fellow, I voted for Jesse Jackson in the town of Groton, who ran in a primary against, I can't remember who, but anyhow, I never really regretted that, even though there were remarks that he had made some anti-Jewish statements, which were not true, and I knew they weren't true. But that was sort of the beginning of my real liberal period in life. And now we get up to Bernie Sanders, who he is just so much my idol. He can make me cry. He is a 74-year-old Jewish guy, and I'm a 73-year-old Jewish guy now. So you can see there's a lot here that I can identify with. The first meeting I went to about Bernie took place in Norwich at the home of Bonnie Hong, who was on vacation right now. I grew up in Norwich and graduated from Norwich Free Academy in 1960, 55 years ago. And Bonnie Hong said something to everybody there. She said, "This is our chance. This is our final chance." And it is. We need to straighten out so many things. Previous speakers tonight have mentioned many things. There are innumerable other things we could talk about. My wife has been a volunteer at the London Soup Kitchen and homeless shelter for a long, long time and won some awards. And she has done an amazing amount of yeoman's work there. I say to myself, at my age, you don't have that much time either. I'm not going to try to catch up with Judy. I didn't mention her name. But I'm saying to myself, this is it. Either do it now or you sit on your dead rump and be acquiescent and stand still and let the world go by you. Well, I'm not going to let the world go by me. Not if I can help it. A couple of months ago, Bernie gave a talk about a speech that FDR gave about homes for people, health care for people, education, whatever it was. He later dropped the speech. It never became a real big part of history. But I think that speech is what we should resurrect today. And I will close with the remark. In terms of our personal wealth, people have said many, many times, live simply so others can simply live. And I think that's where we are today, and that's where we need to go. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Oliver Lebras. I'm a contractor in Pawcatuck, Connecticut. Bernie means a whole lot to me. I have rarely come across a candidate that speaks to me so clearly. When asked what the biggest threat to the nation is, climate was his answer. And I think that if we don't come to grips with climate change, pollution, the effect that we have on the environment, pretty soon, we're not going to get another chance. We keep giving subsidies to big corporations, oil companies, and we should be investing in clean energy, renewable energy. We have waves, we have wind, we have solar, we have all of those things. We just don't have the political will that we need to tackle this problem. Aside from that, education, income inequality, getting the money out of politics, all these things matter. And I think that Bernie, unlike everybody else that I've seen, doesn't act like a weather vane. He sticks to the issues. He's been right about so many things for so long that it's time that we gave Bernie a chance. So there are not many candidates that I've ever given any money to. But for some reason, Bernie is the one that I go and table, and I talk to people, I call people on the phone, I give money to his campaign, I buy the T-shirts, I make T-shirts. It's like, I just want this guy to be in, because we're not going to get another chance. This is it. This is the election where we need somebody with honesty and integrity to lead the nation. So, go Bernie.
Who likes Bernie Sanders? We all do. And why do we like Bernie Sanders? Because he's been saying the same thing for 30 years. He means it. He gets it. He wants things to change for the better, and he wants this to be the best country it can be, and it can only happen if you make it happen. Vote and work for him. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Potluck Politics. Please educate yourself, participate, hopefully feel the burn, and vote on April 26th, and be well.